Propaganda. For the Allies, Rosie the Riveter inspired women and encouraged them to join the workforce to help the United States win the war. This icon was used to boost the morale of American women and fill their minds with the ideology of women empowerment, while also helping the U.S. industries both at the home front and in the factories. The Axis powers took a different path when it came to the use of women. Axis Sally was a woman who spoke over the radio comms as American GIs were making their way through the battlefield. Her goal was to get into the heads of soldiers, mostly African Americans, to stop the fighting and leave the Allies using ideas that hit close to home, like segregation laws and racism. For the Allies, Rosie the Riveter inspired women and encouraged them to join the workforce to help the United States win the war. This icon was used to boost the morale of American women and fill their minds with the ideology of women empowerment, while also helping the Ally industries at the home front. The War Production Board was established in January 1942 to oversee the change from a peacetime to war industry. Other agencies were included to help control and regulate production. The Ford Motor Company was the original home to Rosie the Riveter. Willow employed 42,000 workers, a third of the workers were women, who eventually received equal pay for equal work. These women took over highly paid jobs once reserved for men. The Women Army Corps provided clerical workers, truck drivers, instructors, lab techs, and more for the U.S. Army. This played a major role because more than 150,000 women volunteered, while 15,000 served abroad. In result, over 600 received medals. And in addition, more than 57,000 served in the U.S. Army Nurse Corps, which helped the wounded in Europe and the Pacific. 3/4 of the women working in war industries were married, and 60% were older than 35 years. Most women had children, who were either watched by neighbors or friends, or put into child care, which the federal government paid $50 million for. In the 1940s, women workers increased fivefold because each woman had to take a job of a male serving in each country around the world. The 885 African American women, a part of the 6WWII, would sort and clear a 2-year backlog of mail for Americans stationed in Europe. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Red Cross, and uniformed civilian specialists had 7 million people waiting for mail. "230 French women were brought to Auschwitz in January 1943, but only 49 survived the brutal concentration camp.
In 1942, I was arrested, interrogated, and then ordered to sign a false confession. I refused. The German officer threatened me. I told him, I'm not afraid of being shot. He said, We have means at our disposal that are far worse than being shot.
Please continue, madame.
Soon afterwards, I found myself packed with 230 other French women in a SEAL train on our way to Auschwitz.
A SEAL train?
No food, no water, nothing. At Auschwitz, the trains ran almost all the way to the gas chamber. They unsealed the cars, and the soldiers let everyone out. I saw men, women, children, old couples forced apart from each other. Mothers made to abandon their children. None were aware of the fate that awaited them. Those selected for the gas chamber were immediately driven to a red brick building. I saw my friend, Annette, on that truck. She called to me. Think of my little boy if you ever get back to France. Then she put her arms around another Frenchwoman, and they began singing La Marseillaise. One night, we were awakened by horrible cries. The next day, we learned that the Nazis had run out of gas, and the children had been thrown into the furnaces alive.
Of the 230 women on that train, how many returned from Auschwitz?
49.
Approximately 1,000 women were in charge of deciphering German and Japanese codes during World War II. They were offered campus training in code breaking and promised jobs in Washington once they graduated. These code girls spent 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, in hot offices decoding series of letters and numbers. Code breakers would often find out important information before anyone else, including attacks on the Allies and future battle plans. In preparation for D-Day, they even created and sent out phony codes as decoys for the Axis powers to receive the wrong information. Author Liza Mundy captures the full story in detail in her book Code Girls, The Untold Story of American Women Code Breakers of World War II.
Wanted to do something to end the war because so many of my family members were involved in it. I felt very, very privileged to have this opportunity.
Loose lips sink ships.
Well, in your worst dreams, it was a big black bear that was coming for you like that. And it was about the same height as a bear would be on its hind feet. I don't know. I really don't. That was my job. And I had to get there. And I was scared stiff of making a mistake. Oh, I really was. And particularly, how did I get to work with Alan when other girls, probably much more clever than I don't know how it happened, just one of those things. I think if they'd taken just the edges off, the part where they said, do this because that'll look like a man who's not quite with it. If they hadn't said that, I think he would have done quite well.